Doug Pederson. Remember him? He's coming to town on Sunday, and the professor is in studio, Deniz Selman, to tell us what to expect before Zach Berman joins live from NovaCare. Coming up next on the PHLY Eagles podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles show on a Friday afternoon. We are presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never, not once, not a single time, ordinary at Bet365. Welcome to the show, Bo Wulf, the professor. Dane is in the house. We'll hear from Zach Berman in a little bit. Deniz, how was your trick-or-treating evening?
Oh, it was fun. Everyone was SpongeBob.
Okay.
And
did you dress up in any way?
Well, so that's the thing. I felt very lazy doing it this way, but he wanted us to all be SpongeBob characters.
Okay.
And so Emily was Sandy the squirrel.
Okay.
Is that the squirrel's name?
I think that's right.
Okay. And I was supposed to be Patrick. And I said, well, how am I going to be Patrick? I'm coming straight from teaching, et cetera. And he said, I'm
hearing excuses right now.
Well, no, I already admitted this was lazy and a terrible job. But Evren was happy as long as I wore a pink shirt and green shorts.
Okay.
And my main concern when he said this like 2 weeks before Halloween was that it would be cold. And that was not an issue.
Not an issue.
And so, yeah, pink shirt, green shorts. And one person said, "Are you Patrick?" And it made my night. Now, obviously, I was walking next to SpongeBob, and it wasn't just me like walking down the street in a pink shirt, like, "Are you Patrick?" But I was very happy that one person got it, and I told her, it was a little girl. I said, "You are the first, and I'm sure the last person to get that right tonight. So congratulations!" And she was indeed the last person.
Now, did you feel listening to yesterday's show judged by Zach for participating as an adult?
I do not understand Zach on a lot of issues, and this was one of them.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Halloween's a lot of fun. Now, I think it's a little weird if you don't have kids and you're hanging out, and there's a little bit more of that than there used to be in the trick or treating areas. I feel like, but even there's even room for some of that. I think Halloween should be it should be like off for everybody. And,
okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
you
more
could
days
combine. You know how Zach has this plan to have like the Super Bowl before President's Day or whatever. He thinks that would make society better.
From Labor Day
to President's Day.
To President's Day.
Well, Zach might. You joke about how he texts Roger
from Labor Day to President's Day.
Right. No, I got you. So
who would argue with that?
Well, you joke about how he's texting Roger and whatnot. Roger had some sort of thing, maybe in London. They had games in London recently, right? So I think he was talking in London about expanding the international calendar and international games. And one of the things he said was, I think we're eventually going to go to a 20-week season with 18 games. And then it would go, and he literally said, from Labor Day to President's Day.
Exactly. Been texting him nonstop.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like IKTR. Like it's just become accepted shorthand. I think Zach is just texting him FLD TPD.
That's right. That's right.
From Labor Day
to President's Day.
To President's Day.
Well, on that note, I was going to say maybe we can kill two birds with one stone here, which is an expression I've never fully understood why you would want to be killing birds with stones. But if you are into that,
it's efficiency.
You can kill two with one stone if you made Halloween a holiday so that it was like no school, no work for anybody. And you could also have Election Day on that day. Now, that would kill part of like the Halloween fun, I guess. But it would at least make...
Yeah, you're perverting Halloween.
That's fine.
I don't like
but listen,
this idea at all.
Listen, but I'm trying to... I'm not... Yeah, that wasn't my main goal. I don't actually think they should be the same day. But I was trying to say, but at least then the U.S. would join the rest of the civilized world in having election day be on a day that's off for everybody.
Yeah, election day should be a national holiday.
Right. That's kind of what I was saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It should be a separate day.
I think Halloween should be a school day. It's nice for the kids to go to school in their costumes.
Oh, I see. Interesting. All right.
Yeah. Let's just have election day off.
Election day should clearly be off. Almost everywhere else in the world, it's like on a Sunday. So it's kind of crazy that it's not off.
Okay. What else is kind of crazy, Deniz, is how little play action we saw from the Eagles over certain parts of this season.
Yeah.
They turned that around last weekend in a blowout win over the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's dive deep into the muck of the sausage of the play action for the Eagles offense.
I was so happy watching the game. I like tweeting during the game live about how excited I was at the variety of play action in that game. Now watching back on film, some of those were RPOs, but that's fine. Like, I think RPOs and play action go very well together. Obviously, on one of them, you actually have the option to run it, and on the other, you don't. But like, it's still the same, has the same impact on the defense.
It's
when
not
you
a
do
marriage;
throw
it's
it.
a flirtation.
Interesting. In terms of the, okay, I'm not. Let's not get too much into it. Gotcha. Right. Okay. Yeah, I see. Yeah. No, that's good. It's also vague what it is. That's kind of part of the point.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Yeah.
It's, okay. All right. Well, in this last game, this is by my charting, so I don't know if it matches the services exactly, but
DFF.
10, right? Yeah, exactly. 10 of the 12 early down passes on Sunday, I took out the 2-minute drill because you're not going to run play action in 2 minutes.
10 of the 12.
10 of the 12 early down passes were either play action or RPO. These are the ones that ended up being passes.
Okay.
And in terms of the variety of the plays, you obviously can have different route combinations and things like that, but the variety of the simulated runs was awesome. There was like the right guard pulling on a counter protection trap action. There was a split zone action. There was a pin pull toss RPO where they actually ran the pin pull toss earlier in the game, and then they had the bubble screen behind it on one. They had outside zone action. They had under center inside zone action. They had regular inside zone from gun. They had under center outside zone boot, which is like the Shanahan school thing that we've been like calling for a lot. They did like the outside zone kind of half boot on another one to Calcaterra. And then we saw that left guard pull counter protection on the deep bomb to Devontae Smith. And I can't believe you didn't say this on any of the shows this week, Bo. I, on this show last Friday, said they haven't run that Brazil play since the Brazil game. Like, what happened to it? You even joked about how Jalen Hurts must have walked off the field and said they never wanted that play. They ran exactly the same play, except the motion was a little bit different. It was like a return motion instead of an orbit motion. But as Fran broke down on his offense breakdown,
which you can read if you're a diehard, go to allphly.com.
And you should obviously
best deal and a deal that may not last forever. So get in while the getting's hot.
Might have some inside information on how long that deal is going to last. Yeah. So I thought that was so fun to see that, especially because the ball didn't go to the same place. Like, the wheel was covered this time, and it went to the underneath route on that Brazil play. So that was really cool. And then the outside zone half boot on the deep touchdown to Devontae. So really fun to see those. And of those play action plays, there was only one incompletion. It was a throwaway on a screen that was sniffed out. And all the other plays were basically successful. And I wanted to ask you.
It's funny, the inability of Nick Sirianni to ever get a screen game going. That even when they were just dialing up these great play-action plays,
every other play was working.
Still, the screen won't work.
Yeah, and that was a screen that was going to a running back. It wasn't like one of the Sirianni special bubble screens with like guys who don't want to blocking. It looked like it was just a normal running back screen that just the timing was off, the spacing was off. One of the linebackers seemed to sniff it out, so it just didn't go anywhere. But yeah, absolutely, the screen game with this kind of athletic offensive line. I'm just like imagining the kind of screen game this team would have if like Andy Reid had this offensive line.
Do you think there are, how they teach dogs to like sniff out certain things? Do you think there is some breed out there that could be taught to sniff out screens?
Well, I know you're not into AI.
No,
but I bet they're using AI to try to train such a. Yeah.
Okay. What's your question for me?
Well, my question for you was, I've heard about like Baldy tweeted something about how the players were involved. They spoke up to the coaches about how changes need to be made. Just having been in the building a couple of times this week, I'm wondering if you've heard that and thought there's not much to that, or if you think that's just stuff that happens every week and Baldy just talked about it this week, or if there's something to the idea that I heard EJ Smith saying, like, Jalen Hurts like is the reason the offense got fixed because he talked to the coaches. Do you think that's a little overblown?
I am skeptical that it was Jalen Hurts leading the charge.
Mm-hmm.
Because
with Baldy, you think Lane Johnson, but
well, that's the obvious inference. Yeah. But yeah, I think Baldy's pretty plugged in with other players in the locker room. I don't think it's just a 1-to-1. I mean, Baldy is a very reliable narrator when it comes to behind the scenes stuff with the Eagles, so I believe what he's saying. But yeah, I mean, he's first of all, he said players, right? And he didn't say the quarterback. I'm a little skeptical because if it's a Jalen thing, why did it take so long? Like, presumably Jalen is involved in what's going on offense all season long. I am much more willing to believe that it is a offensive line or whatever else speak up thing. But I also am a little wary of making it like a 1-to-1. That's the reason why the offense looked good all of a sudden.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I always wonder when there's a good game, you're searching for reasons it was good.
Sure.
Instead of, actually thinking that there was some reason beforehand that it was going to be good. Now, it'd be really weird if it was Jalen because all the narrative before has been Jalen's the one who doesn't want to do some of these things, use some of these tools that the offense has been using more. And, it's stuff that Kellen Moore has used more in the past. So it'd be weird for Jalen to suddenly be like, why don't we make it more like your offenses used to look? Mm-hmm. Because then it was like, well, why weren't you?
I mean, they don't even tell Jalen if they're going for it on 4th down.
Yeah, well, he'd like to know, though, he said.
In theory.
Yeah.
Okay.
In general, you mentioned this a little bit on the show, one of the shows earlier this week. I think it was on Monday with Fran, that in general, the Eagles have been very good when they have used play action.
Yes.
And I went back and I just looked at play action usage versus play action success for the Eagles. So when you look at all downs, the Eagles rank 22nd in play action usage. They're using it 21% of the time. Their success rate with it has been 60%, over 60%, which is 3rd best in the league. The average for the league is like 48% or something. The success without play action has been all the way down to 42%. And the average for that is right around 42%. So their
That's
average...
just pass plays.
This is just dropbacks.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. Just dropbacks. So basically, dropbacks with play action, dropbacks without play action. League-wide, there's like a 4% bump when you use play action and success rate. So normally play action is more successful than no play action, which is what the analytics community always talks about. Like you should use it even if the run game isn't working, that kind of thing. But for the Eagles, it's a 18% bump, like up from 42 to 60, and that's over a total of 225 dropbacks. So it's not noise. Like when you look at all downs. When you look at
what do you attribute that to?
So even 20% of it is like over 40 plays. Like we're not talking about like nothing. What do I attribute the bump to?
Yeah.
I almost wonder if it works better because it's so rare with the Eagles. Like it's like so many of the dropbacks are just
especially on early downs, they're running the ball on early downs more than any team in the league. So you would think that there would be some correlation there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Eagles and since you mentioned that, I'll just quickly talk about that. It's the run the ball crowd must be loving life. I mean, the Eagles are now 32nd in the league in overall pass rate, 51%. It's actually almost 50-50, which is crazy. 31st in the league in first down pass percentage. Only 37% of first downs have been passes. When you control for garbage time and neutral zone situations, still 29th, 46%. And when you do pass rate over expectation, 28th. So any way you look at it, the Eagles are one of the most, if not the most, run-heavy team in the whole league. And it's just, having A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, it's interesting that it's working this way, right? And I am curious how long it's going to continue. When you're going to run into teams that don't let you run it, that kind of thing. It'll be interesting. By the way, when you do the thing,
there's also a long-term viability question about the usage for Saquon. That's a real thing, right?
Yes,
could you play this way with Kenny Gainwell?
That's true. That was a big discussion before the season, like the Saquon usage, how many carries is he going to have? I haven't been hearing as much about that. Yeah. Like it seems like, it's working great, so let's keep doing it. I don't know how much, how relevant do you think that is within a season? As opposed to for Saquon's whole career length, which the Eagles might not care so much about.
Do you want to unpack why, of all the diehard Eagles fans, you maybe hate Saquon the most?
I like Saquon a lot. What are you talking about? I think he's great. I just don't get excited.
You just don't like running backs in general. You've taken it so far that you won't even allow yourself to enjoy the best running back the Eagles have had since LaShawn McCoy.
I love it when he makes a run that I know that like Miles Sanders would have only gotten 7 yards and he gets 55. Like I do like that. I just think that, and Saquon is the best example of this. If your offensive line isn't good and the rest of your team isn't good, you're not going to make the team good. And I think that like there are a lot of other positions where like upgrading at left tackle if your left tackle is really bad, or upgrading at wide receiver if your wide receivers aren't good. Obviously quarterback, but pretty much almost any other position, maybe other than tight end, I don't know, is more important than running back. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but I think it seems as if you are letting your opinion of the valuation of the position affect your enjoyment of him as a fan.
I'm not sure. People are calling me a curmudgeon in the chat now. I'm not sure if part of it is the following. The thing that I hated the most as a kid following the Eagles was when the Sunday Inquirer sports page came out and I wanted to read about the Eagles game that was that day. It's like the biggest day of the week. It's the Eagles game. And like half the sports page would be about Penn State. And I would be like,
oh, so this is residual
I would
Penn
be like,
State
Penn State
distaste.
like is not in Philadelphia. Like, why would I care about Penn State? Like, don't they have a newspaper out there wherever Penn State is? And I never liked the whole Penn State Philadelphia connection. I just don't think they're in any way related. And so that was annoying.
Oh, it's interesting. That makes sense.
And then the other thing that I'm annoyed by, and I am a curmudgeon on this topic, is fantasy football. Like, I hate fantasy football. I hate that people care about it, talk about it, like check their phones the whole game, like checking like the, who caught the Titans touchdown, like instead of standing up and being loud on third down on defense and stuff like that. I hate the way that's gone. And so I think running backs matter a lot more to people than they matter to actual like football teams because of fantasy. So because like whether the like people don't like the tush push because they want Saquon to get the touchdowns. Like Jamie Lynch, like who cares who got the touchdown? Like I just don't. Like if he doesn't care, I don't think it matters.
Well, yeah, I think that's. Yeah. I think Jamie's point is not he wants Saquon to get the touchdown.
I think that Jamie. I'm sure Jamie owns Saquon in like a bunch of fantasy leagues, and he cares.
I don't think that's the reason. I think he's wary of doesn't Saquon want the touchdown, but if it truly doesn't matter to him, that's fine.
It seems like it doesn't.
Do you think that the way that this is playing out so far, we'll see if he stays healthy and plays at this level for another year and a half, is proof of concept for the Eagles in their very specific situation when they have a good running back or when they have a good offensive line rather, that a running back can be a difference maker?
Oh yeah, exactly. Okay. And when the Saquon signing happened, I didn't say like this isn't going to make a difference. I said I'm not sure if it's going to make a difference because I'm not sure how good he would be. But if he's going to make a difference on a team, like this is the team, right? Like a team that already runs the ball well, has a quarterback as a run threat, has an offensive line which is obviously very good at run blocking. When you put Saquon on this team, if he's not able to, Fran is worried he's going to catch a stray. Fran, come on, what would you catch a stray about? I just think, I mean, yes, I thought I don't even remember what you asked, but I don't hate Saquon. What are you talking about?
I think that also there is a case to be made that part of we spent so much time on Saquon as well in this offense with these wide receivers and this offensive line, like. He's not going to be the most important part of opposing defensive game plans. Like he's going to be able to turn these plays into bigger plays. I think it's fair to say, looking back, that it's possible part of it was also concern is probably too strong, but a hedge against what if the quarterback doesn't take the kind of leap that we were hoping he would take, or if this can't just be a straight drop back and point guard the ball to 3 top receivers. Kind of offense that maybe they need a little bit of extra help on offense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And also like just how the two go together. I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that the rushing game in general, not just Saquon, but the rushing game in general by success rate, by EPA per play, was worse when A.J. Brown wasn't playing, right? In the games that A.J. missed, like the running attack did not save the offense in those games, right? And you're not going to be able to save the offense typically by running it if you don't have the pass threat to go with it.
AJ Brown is so good. I asked him what happened.
Ridiculous.
That play in the end zone where he's like writhing on the ground out of nowhere, but then he's back in the game.
Oh, yeah.
And he said they stepped on his hip.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Still hurts.
It still hurts, huh?
Yeah.
Oh.
Sore.
Mm.
Tough guy.
He's awesome. I mean, it's
He's
like
awesome.
so fun. We were talking about this a little before the show. Like, it's so fun to be a fan of a team that has like awesome
A guy like
players
that.
like that transcend like normal discussion about like the opponent's cornerbacks, for example. It's like, who cares who their cornerbacks are?
Right.
Like it could be
Right.
like prime Deion Sanders and you still have AJ Brown, you know, like it's like you're like that guy's not going to shut down anybody. And so that's the one part of the offense that has that, and then the other one that has just historically been the case has been left tackle, right tackle. I mean, just like we've been so spoiled here having good offensive tackles on the team for so long. Lane Johnson on the right side for so many years, and then on the left side, Fred Johnson was awesome last week. I mean, for what it's worth. But
Fred Johnson was in the locker room this week. He couldn't stop talking about it. He keeps seeing this guy, Deniz Selman, all over the city.
See, it's
crazy.
I feel bad because I've never actually said hi to him. I just see him and I get really excited and I tell Emily about how I just saw Fred Johnson, but I've never actually said hi. Next time I see him, I'm gonna.
Yes, you are probably part of a very small minority that would be much happier to see Fred Johnson in the wild than Saquon Barkley.
Oh, by a mile. Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about our friends. Our friends at Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. We're talking curated deals that make it easier to find the best price on great seats. The Super Deal. Seat views before you buy, lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, and more. They've got all-in pricing, so you don't get bamboozled at the end with all these hidden fees. You can see the view of your seat before you go there, so you're not going to get stuck behind some pole or something like that. And they've got ticket coverage for covering your purchases with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem with code PHLY. This is for Julia. Hello, market. That's right. It's Rite Aid time. At Rite Aid, the Hello Market includes candy, I'm losing it, snacks, and pantry items. All of this exclusively at your local Rite Aid. Products include candy, like peach rings and starlight mints, to gummy butterflies and sour worms. They've got popcorn, beef jerky, granola, pantry staples like honey and seasonings. All that stuff available for you just a walk down the street at the Hello Market. Snack attack? Get Hello Market delivered same day or buy online, pick up in store. Go to riteaid.com/shop to order. I feel like I had like 10 seconds of a good accent in there.
I feel like Zach. I feel like normally I understand your jokes, and I'm like, come on, Zach, how do you not understand that? And this time I'm just completely in the dark.
Hello.
Okay.
I mean, it's right there. How are you going to miss that? All right. We've unpacked play action.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, on first down, just looking at first down, the bump in success rate from no play action to play action for the Eagles, 43% up to 68%. They're second in the league at first down play action success and 30th in the league at actually using it. So a little bit of a sample size thing there. They've only used it 19 times, but it's worked on 13 of them. I mean,
that one
I just
feels
can't
to
imagine
me like one that is closely related to teams are selling out to stop the run on first down because they like to run.
No, that's right.
Down.
So a good time to use it, right? Like obviously you can't just, you can't use it every time. That's kind of the whole point.
Sure.
But that's not something that's in danger of happening. So
what about the under center of it all?
Yeah, I mean the under center
I
stuff.
felt after the game that it was a little bit overblown because so much of it was those last 2 drives plus the tush pushes.
Yeah,
It wasn't like a big part of the offense in the game plan necessarily.
yeah.
But
I'm looking at my play-by-play notes. The first play of the game has been under center. I feel like on purpose.
yes.
The last couple. This time it was a run. It was a pass on some of the other ones.
Yeah, that's the problem with this week. There hasn't been anything for everybody to really, really complain about. So there's nothing for them to design the first play of the game for as a specific rejoinder to that.
Yeah, I mean, first drive of the game, that first play was under center. The next 9 were not. Right, there were 3 on the next drive out of 7.
The Eagles are going to run
one of
the
those
first
was a
play
sneak,
of the game.
So 2.
The first play of the game this week for the Eagles is going to be a handoff to Saquon Barkley from the 1-yard line for a touchdown. That's their.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's the only thing they can do.
Okay. Yeah. No. The Fran got into this a little bit, but there was a lot more under center variety in the run game this week. I mean, they did under center outside zone, did under center duo, which is not something the Stoutland University like normally has a class in duo. I mean, I always this was like a long running joke between me and Fran. I would like text him a play. This was like last year, 2 years ago. I would like text him a play and be like, Fran, is this duo or inside zone? I can't tell. I'm trying to chart this game. And he would always try to tell me like it's duo if it's this, and I still couldn't tell or whatever. And he was like, "Listen, it's never duo. Like if it's the Eagles, it's not duo. And in this game there was a lot of duo, a lot of under center duo.
They needed Fran to leave.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was.
It wasn't a Stout thing; it was a Fran thing.
Well, the other Fran thing, he broke down that wham trap that the Jaguars ran beautifully using screenshots the other day. Wham trap is something the Eagles have run a lot, and it was very beautiful when it was run well. I mean, they did it a lot against Dallas, like trapping their 3 techniques and stuff in that aggressive kind of 4-man front. We haven't seen it a single time this year, so I'm wondering if that's also because Fran left, because I know that's a run that he likes a lot. And with all the run game variety that we've discussed this year, that is not one of the things they've done. I don't remember a single trap or a single wham, and certainly not a wham trap. So I don't know.
I feel like
maybe that was Fran's influence all these years.
Some little bit of you giving something to Fran, and
I'm trying
as much as you possibly can.
No, I mean I love wham trap. I mean, Saquon would look great running it. I think
we got a couple super chats to bang out here. Aaron Widman or Wideman? I'm gonna go Widman. The Widman. Professor Selman, thanks for doing what you do, fighting back against the ZBs in the world who can misunderstand metrics.
I don't know if that's a reference to my third down.
Poor Widman's going to be keeping Zach up all night with this one. You have nothing to say?
Yeah, well, once Zach's on, we can talk more about third down.
And then ARM, Andy Reid's mustache, says, Bo, please say no with an Australian accent. No.
Not enough syllables.
No. It's like a... It's gonna be an R. It's like no.
I feel like I showed up sober too late to the party. It's like 3 a.m.
No, not today.
Everyone else, Julia and Bo, have just been like getting hammered for hours, and I just showed up.
We have a fish show to go to tonight.
Yeah. We're talking about under center real quick. The Ben Vansumeran package is entirely under center, and that's not just a garbage time thing. And they're actually I was surprised. I didn't make it a swooper because I thought one of you would, that he would catch a pass. The problem with me being the only sober one here is going to continue for the rest of the show, so I'll just get used to it. Saquon Barkley was talking about this, about how he only did shotgun in college, so he was more used to it, and that he understands why there isn't as much under center with the Eagles, because that makes the Jalen Hurts dual threat more important. And then Jason Kelce was talking about this, the difference between under center play action and shotgun play action, and he thought that in this last game in particular. And he sounded like he knew this, not just that he noticed it on film. He knew that this had actually happened. He said it seemed like there was more of a focus on holding the play action fakes for longer, even when they were from the shotgun. And that's something we've made fun of the Eagles about. Like, it's like,
These very
it's like,
cursory,
good job not ranking dead last in play action by having Jalen like sort of hold the ball in a way that doesn't move anybody on the defense at all. It seemed like he was trying a little bit harder to actually sell those fakes. And
obviously, in theory, for the quarterback, it's easier to trust that and do that when you're facing a pass rush that is not as good. And so, we talked about how much time he had last week. This Jaguars pass rush also not that great. Maybe you can carry that out. It's going to take a little bit more trust to do it against.
It's weird because they have talented edge rushers.
Yeah,
but that is kind of showing, I guess, that that's not quite enough, right? Like they don't seem to have the combination of coverage and pass rush and the rest of the D line to actually get there because they're like dead last in sack rate or something, 29th in pressure rate, whatever it is. So yeah, do you think that's an issue for Jalen normally? That he's worried about the pass rush, and that's why
I think he goes through spells of being a little bit skittish in the pocket, like most quarterbacks probably. Yeah. I don't know if it's a every game thing, but that happens sometimes.
Yeah. I think he even voiced that when there are backups playing, like he doesn't necessarily basically play the same way. I mean, he said like having backups on the O-line is kind of like having backup receivers. And Jalen saying that speaks volumes because we know what Jalen does when they're backup receivers. He just doesn't throw to them. So,
what is this about Sirianni practice drills that you want to get into?
Oh, you remember we used to always joke about how like Quez Watkins caught a ball and then he fumbled it in that Washington game in 2022.
He fell down and then got up.
He fell down and then got up, and he said, Sirianni said, like, we're gonna have to have a drill. Have everybody do that.
Right.
So that never happens again in a game. And in general, it seems like he always has these drills that respond directly to like a fluky thing that happened in the last game. And so like Jalen fumbled the ball like in a game last year. And then they did this whole thing where they and they did it while the media was there. So there were like Twitter videos of it, like where they were like hitting the ball and stuff like that. I just think it's funny how it seemed like that year, like magically, 2022, even a little bit in 2021, anytime there was an issue and Sirianni said, okay, we added a new drill to fix this problem, it seemed like the problem just got fixed, like magically. Like I mentioned the Quez Watkins one, he talked about drills to eliminate turnovers this year, and he was like, I don't want to say too much about it because there's strategic advantage, but we put our camera guy in a different place at practice so that he could get a better angle of like the way guys are holding the ball, and that's going to be the way we eliminate turnovers. And then the tackling was an issue, and so instead of tackling dummies, they now like just tackle Joe Casper, like the safeties coach, which is just funny that there isn't somebody else to tackle other than that. But anyway, like
Joe Casper. That they should call Cooper DeJean.
There you go. Yeah, that's a Wolf's Den reference for those of you who aren't diehards, and you should sign up so you could read about all the other nicknames that Bo had for the white members of the Eagles secondary. The Joe Casper thing and the other drill thing. The reason I'm bringing them up is because tackling hasn't really been an issue, right? There was like maybe one play, like Zach Bond missed a tackle last week. Like I don't really remember too many others where there was like a notable missed tackle, and also turnovers. There have been no turnovers for 3 games. So the Eagles are actually now like top 10 in the league at avoiding EPA loss from turnovers. So remember like that original the first part of the season when we talked about how the turnovers are killing this team, and we talked about there's usually regression with this kind of thing, and the regression.
So you think that Nick Sirianni is only able to fix things once they are a problem, as opposed to being proactive?
Yeah,
and so
it's just
for the Eagles, it would be best if they just get everything out of the way the first couple weeks, and then they can fix those things. It'll be good.
I don't think the drills have been helping at all. I just think it's so funny that like he talks about how they added a drill. We kind of all roll our eyes and laugh, and then just magically the thing gets fixed. Like I don't actually think it's the reason. But.
All right. Well, speaking of magic. Via the magic of telecommunications and technological advancements, we can be joined right now by Mr. Technology himself, Zach Berman. How we doing?
Hey, doing great. Good to see you guys. And actually, this worked out swimmingly because I planned on leaving the locker room.
Is that a fish reference?
To come in. No, this worked out well. This worked out effectively, however you want to frame it. Because I planned on leaving the locker room so I can be there in person. I think the shows are always better when we're together, the 3 of us. And I look at my Slack messages, and Julia, our outstanding head of content, says that Bo said, "You're joining virtually today." And I said, "Okay, that's fine. I'll stay in the locker room a little longer." And that meant I got to be there for Lane Johnson. Okay, I wouldn't have been there for Lane Johnson otherwise.
I'm sorry.
And
I'm
Lane
sorry about
Johnson,
the miscommunication, Zach. I thought you were doing an every other week thing, and you were going to.
yeah. So last week, so last week we moved to StreamYard. That was a week when I wasn't gonna. So because I was StreamYard last week, I was gonna do in studio this week. You remember?
Got it.
So that's why. But this actually worked out terrifically because I got in on Lane Johnson like a minute or two late. But I got there for important nuggets, including the fact that he and a few other members of the team did have communication, did speak during the bye week about modifying the offense and about,
Really?
And so Lane, what Baldy said this week, Lane said he spoke up, and Lane's comfortable speaking up about this. It was another reporter joked with him that he's like the new Jason Peters. And he says he doesn't have his own stretch line, but otherwise he does have clout. And he says, he's not afraid to say something when he feels like something needs to be said. And this was a case where that did happen.
So what did he say about those meetings? Did he say anybody else that was involved?
I believe Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, and I will have more. This also worked out. I planned on posting a big notebook this morning. And now this is going to probably jump to the lead of the notebook because this is more interesting, I feel like, right? Yeah.
I think this is very interesting.
Yeah, so I still need to kind of go through because I admittedly, I got there a few minutes in. I didn't want to have him repeat everything he just said, right? So I'm going to go through the part I heard and then the part from before I got there. But it was interesting, and it does confirm what we spoke about on yesterday's show and spoke about with Jamie and Rich on Wednesday about players speaking up. And I said, in my 12 years around Lane, he always believes the solution is to run more, right? Is to be the imposer on the line of scrimmage. And typically that has worked here. Now, I don't think, as we discussed in the past, I don't think you can be or entirely run. Like, you want these two things to complement each other, the run and the pass. But when you have a guy like Saquon Barkley and you have an offensive line like they have, I've always said it's not either or, right? But you can't abandon the run. And when things aren't working out, or when things are stagnant or stale, what you can always hang your hat on is the running game. And it sounds like that's something that those guys on the O-line push for.
So I have a few more questions here. So first of all, your understanding is this happened during the bye week?
During the bye week, yes. This happened during the bye week. Yep.
Okay. And is your understanding that it was as simple as we need to run the ball more, or is there the variation of like the passing game needs to be, less static?
No, I think more run. I think more based on run. Now, Jalen Hurts said he had a lot of productive conversations too, right? So Jalen's might have
had their moments.
Sorry. Yes. Well, no, they had their moments before the bye, but then I suppose the moments were great moments during the bye because Jalen talked about the productive conversations that they had, and Jalen spoke this week about how things evolve, and you're seeing the evolution of that during the season. But the running part of this is important. When you look, it was interesting, and I know Professor Selman always is watching the in-house documentaries in addition to all the press conferences. And you saw last week Kellen Moore at the Wednesday meeting, right? He started that. I don't know if it was the start of.
We're going to be under center,
but he said we're going to be under center a lot more this week, right? And so this is something that they were going to work on, and so. After the game, they were kind of downplaying the under center part of it, but it was a big part of what they planned to do last week. And as was well documented, it was their best offensive game of the season. Now, I don't want to sometimes conflate correlation with causation or causation with correlation, but I don't think it's a stretch to think these are related to some degree, just in terms of the diversity of the offense. Things are always better when it's more diverse.
Do you? Go ahead.
No, talk about an immediate response if the main thing during the bye week was let's run the ball more. I mean, in that Cleveland game, I'm just looking now, 15 of the first 20 plays were runs. They ran it against like a loaded Jim Schwartz, like run-stopping kind of box. I mean, it wasn't even that successful, but it was very clear.
It wasn't.
It was very clear that they came out with an intention to run it more.
Zach, do you think that it was like, I'm just trying to imagine this actual meeting, like how this approach happened. Do you think it was like those guys go to Stout, like pass this message along? They march into Sirianni's office and say, you know, I'm playing left guard like Jason Peters did. You think they accost him in the parking lot? What's, you know?
But no, you know, so it's interesting you bring that up too, Bo, because one thing Lane did say today is that he always prefers one-on-one meetings. He's like, some guys like to speak in front of the team and do that. He says his style has always been more have like productive one-on-one conversations. So now, if it was Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, maybe it's more than like literally one-on-one. But I don't know if it was this huge
maybe
concept.
that's a series of one-on-ones. Yeah, maybe. I mean,
sure,
like the leadership council has their meetings or something like that.
Yeah,
could be something like that.
But something Lane said was he said how Jason Kelce was always vocal, right? And he learned from Jason. He said that he always liked that. Now he doesn't get as angry as Jason. He has his moments, but it's not the anger. But he said like the anger always came from a spot of wanting these things to be perfect, or I shouldn't say perfect, like to be clean. If there was a bad walkthrough, if there was bad practice, if there was a game plan that wasn't sound, Jason would make his voice heard. And Lane referenced the same thing, how invested in this, how hard he works at this, how much he cares about this. And so it's in a similar vein. If if there's something with our show that you feel can be better, you speak up about it because you care about the show, right? So it's not to say our show is like the Philadelphia Eagles offense, but it's probably a similar sentiment. These guys aren't mailing it in. So especially someone like Lane, who's been here for 12 years, has seen this work different ways under different coaches, under different coordinators. If there's something he feels strongly about. So I think what stands out to me more than anything isn't just that this happened, but that he felt this needed to be said.
From a fan's perspective, I can tell you that like I love it whenever there's any evidence that the players care enough to be proactive like that, right? Because sometimes you get this kind of thought that in professional sports, like everyone's just kind of doing their part and going home, right? And so anytime there is a group of players willing to be a leader and say what they think should happen so that the team does better, it usually makes me happy, especially when the results come right after. But.
And to add to that point, one phrase that I've heard often this year is player-led team. So how does that manifest itself? Well, I think what Nick really wants is like the players to be in the driver's seat here in terms of the leadership. And I think sometimes there's a lot put on the coaches. I kind of sound like Doug Pederson now, where Doug's like the players have to catch the ball, the players have to throw the ball, right? But ultimately, this is a player's game. And so I agree. I like when there's a level of accountability from the players.
Very quickly, Zach, I see on Twitter here from the very beginning of Lane's press conference, the one thing that you, not press conference, but Scrum, the one thing that you missed, I believe he said, I just want to say thank you to Bo Wulf for teaching me how to do that thing where you block two guys on the same play and spin around.
Yeah, I should have brought that up to him. Yeah, I should have brought that up to him. I brought the salute the service award up. Oh, okay, nice. All right, can't wait for that in the Wolf's Den. Yeah.
No, it was just a separate conversation. Zach, we have more to get to, but unfortunately, we need to take a break for just a second. There's one thing that I say about my friend Zach Berman. It's, boy, does that guy have a golden pair of nuggets on him. That's right, Golden Nugget Jewelers. That's what we're talking about. And if you're in the market for any kind of jewelry in Philadelphia, Golden Nugget Jewelers is the place to go. Local, high-quality products. Chestnut and 8th in downtown Philly, family-owned and operated since 1987. So if you're getting engaged, the good folks at Golden Nugget Jewelers have a wide assortment of rings and wedding bands to fit anyone's style. You can also receive a final cleaning and written appraisal with every engagement ring purchase. Not just wedding jewelry, though. You can find watches, diamond necklaces, diamond bracelets, earrings, and more. You deserve an expert and the best price. Golden Nugget Jewelers, where Philly gets engaged. Head over to goldennuggetjewelers.com to learn more, or even better, stop in at Golden Nugget Jewelers at 8th and Chestnut.
I was,
You want to hop in? Go ahead. You can do it.
Yeah. I would love to do this one because I can get personal testimony to this. I was driving. We work later on Wednesdays. Locker room's late on Wednesdays now, and I'm driving home late. And I call up Emily, my wife, and she says, "What's this big box you ordered? Is this Hello? And she says, "Why did you order HelloFresh?" And I could have told her about how with HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. I did not tell her that sentence. What I told her is I thought this would be great to make dinner with. And so the other night, the potatoes were terrific that came, like fresh potatoes coming from HelloFresh. And that's what you can expect, okay? Because with HelloFresh, you make this. They were.
What did they turn into? Were they mashed potatoes, roasted potatoes?
Oh no. Yeah, roasted potatoes. Okay. Sorry, I thought you meant like
crispy potatoes.
Yes, yeah, they were cut. They were cut potatoes, crispy potatoes, and it was part of the meal from HelloFresh that we ate on.
Can you name a kind of potato
on Wednesday? Can I name a kind of potato? I know potatoes are from Idaho. I think you don't mean like sweet potatoes. Can I name the specific type of white potato? I don't know.
Could you name any kind?
What's an example? A sweet potato, right? A yam.
All right.
Is that a potato?
Finish the read.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay. Sorry.
I don't need to potato.
Thank you. I'm trying to tell you how they have the tastiest. You can make fall the tastiest season yet with farm fresh produce and easy autumn-inspired recipes delivered right to your door with HelloFresh. HelloFresh delivers all the pre-portioning ingredients you'll need to make easy homemade meals, which we did. All the proteins, veggies, including potatoes, sauces, spices, and more arrive in your box along with simple instructions that walk you through each step in the cooking process. I can even say this morning I kind of went off script. And I had a little bit of the pita, right? That was part of a separate meal, but I just had that as part of the as part of a breakfast this morning. It was great.
Hold on. You had part of a pita?
No, pita. P-I-T-A.
Oh,
Pita. I think the pita was part of a meal.
Okay.
It was part of like a dinner, but I just had the pita as like a
and not the kind of pita that's
basically.
coming after you for your fish hate.
No, much different. No, much different pita. So HelloFresh can save you time. You don't have to go to the grocery store. They give you the recipes too, right? Sometimes you can do it impromptu, but they give you the recipes that you can follow. It helps you eat differently and better, and it makes cooking enjoyable. It would be a stretch to say I cook with my wife. She tends to do more of the cooking. I tend to do more of the grilling. Nonetheless, it's something we enjoy doing together, and we can do it now with HelloFresh. Get 10 free meals at HelloFresh.com/freeeagles, and that has 3 E's in it. FREE, then EAGLES. Okay. Applied across 7 boxes. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. That's free. That's 10 free HelloFresh meals just by going HelloFresh.com/freeeagles. It's America's #1 meal kit.
A couple super chats, and one that seems like it needs your insight, in particular, Zach. This is a 2-parter from Khalif. He says, on behalf of a friend of Defop Shea, if a girl calls you her next of kin, but then proceeds to play footsie with you after touching the bean in Chicago together and gives you a warm hug with back rub, is she interested romantically, or is this a friend zone situation?
I mean, I need to think that anything footsie related goes beyond friend zone, unless it's unintentional footsie. if there's intentionality to the footsie, like a warm hug, that can be a friend zone thing. The back rub, that's probably more toward romantically related. But I think footsie, once you start playing footsie with somebody, that's beyond friend zone.
Yeah, I think so too. But I'm very caught up on what is this next of kin situation?
Oh, I didn't even pay attention to that. The next of kin situation.
Calls you her next of kin. What does that mean? Like,
how would you decipher this one?
Yeah, we're not talking about this is your cousin or something like that, are we?
Oh well, no, I certainly hope not. No. That would not.
She's saying like, oh, you're like a brother to me. Is like
next of kin is very weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So then
I'm a little hung up on that, Khalif.
Okay. Yes.
But
okay.
I agree with Zach that I feel like intentional footsie is a pretty unmistakable signal.
Yes. Yeah. That
Julia,
that brings both back to the.
Julia agrees. Deniz?
That's like the.
I'm just
Deniz is just doing side work.
I'm just hung up on the next of kin thing.
Yeah.
Still, so I'm not going to say anything until I understand what that means.
CDP also says, do we think Jalen Hurts will catch up with Mac Jones after the game, Zach? If you remember, they were teammates. Also, they both had seasons ruined by Matt Patricia.
Good point. I imagine he will. Yes, I imagine he will. They were in the same quarterback room.
Yes, I remember that joint practice in Philadelphia. That was the big topic to Mac Jones was Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I spoke to Jordan Davis today about Trayvon Walker. He said Trayvon Walker's like family to him, right? So he's excited to see that. Wait, what did Khalif say? We did it, chat. A friend. Okay. Shay did not clarify. I'm assuming friend, the closest friend. Maybe it's a woman who okay, or a woman, a man, whatever it may be, loves you like a brother. Whatever it may be, loves you like a brother. So
the other funny thing here is that he split it into two, and the first part was after touching the bean.
Well, it's in Chicago, right? So there's the bean.
Well, yeah,
in
but
Chicago.
the in Chicago part wasn't until the second part of the super chat.
Oh, okay.
So just
gotcha. Okay.
I'm pretty sure once you touch the bean, you're beyond a friend.
Yeah, that's always a tough situation when you're
touching the bean.
When you're no. When you're like deep friend zoned with somebody, right? But then if you wanted that to be a romantic thing, right? So you got to be careful there, I suppose. But if she's initiating the footsie, I think you're in the clear. Unless it's a family. unless it's family, in which case.
Julia is losing it.
No, you're not in the clear.
Losing it.
I'm trying to add by the way, Khalif, and I imagine Khalif's watching. Yeah, because Khalif's posting this in the super chat. Khalif, I sent you the 2 books yesterday. Okay, so you will they will be in you should arrive them early. They should arrive early next week. I apologize for the delay, but I appreciate the interest and the patience.
ZB, what else can you tell us news-wise from the NovaCare complex?
Yeah, so Devontae Smith wasn't out there at the start of practice. I get the sense that it's nothing to worry about. I get the sense that it was more personal related. We'll get the injury report later. But I don't anticipate this being something that keeps him from playing. Darius Slay doesn't look like he's going to play. He hasn't practiced all week. Dallas Goedert hasn't practiced all week. So it's going to be the first week of Isaiah Rodgers. Did I say this on yesterday's show? I had a nice conversation with Isaiah Rodgers the other day about this potential start. And the way I framed it to him was, look, I know you never wanted someone to get hurt, but this is a big opportunity for you. You didn't play all year last year. You've been a reserve this year. You're a free agent. Like this could do a lot for your career. And he says the way he's viewing this is he wants to show the Eagles and the higher ups the type of player he is, so they can keep him. So they want him long term. He's not viewing this as auditioning for the league, which essentially it is, but also a chance to audition for Howie Roseman and the Eagles front office, who will presumably make a cornerback decision after this season. Because one thing here, if I can editorialize, which I have to be careful of doing the Friday show, that Cooper DeJean, he's really good in the slot. And I understand that the outside corner is more valuable than the slot corner, right? But there'd be nothing wrong if he's your slot cornerback, for the next few years. Like if he's really good at it and he's better at it than some other players, and you're in that package most of the game, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Not to say that Isaiah Rodgers is the cornerback of the future, but I'm curious to see how Isaiah Rodgers looks this weekend.
And so I keep thinking about the Bean. And
okay, back to the Bean, huh?
Well, is this like is this a trip to Chicago? Like, did they meet up together, or do they live in Chicago? Because if they're like meeting up for a trip, that would also suggest that this is more than just a friend.
You can go on trips with friends.
You could go on birds
but
with friends.
Not anymore. You can't. But let's say have this.
They tried. They thought about
it. You have this nice trip with a friend to Chicago, and you're at Millennium Park with her, and you guys touch the Bean together. It's a nice photo op, right? And maybe she embraces you with the warm hug, even the slight back rub. Okay. And you're like, all right, we're just close friends. But then you're at Al Cheval for a great burger, and you're sitting you're sitting at the table, and she plays footsie with you. That's an indication. That is an indication that there's something more here.
Sumac here is saying they also room together to save money.
Come on, yeah.
Shay, make a move. The other side of this conversation is on some other podcast. They're asking, what signal can I send to get my man to make a move? Been flashing Bean all day.
I've been guilty of this before. I once went out for a dinner one time, and I thought it was just like a dinner with a friend, but she thought it was something more, and I didn't pick up any of the signals until after the fact. So there was no footsie at the table, so I would interpret that as it. But I didn't pick up some of the other hints. Oh, wait, that's funny. Pre-Emily, pre-Philly, yeah.
Okay, that's a good flex.
That's not a flex at all.
That's a bit of a flex.
Yeah.
People are throwing themselves at me nonstop so much I don't even notice it anymore.
No, it wasn't that. I'll tell you after the fact what happened. So
sounds freaky.
Because there'd be context that would give it away. So
it was Valentine's Day.
Oh no,
okay,
no, it wasn't about that side. That probably would have given it away though. So caught up with Saquon Barkley. I don't know Saquon well. I mean,
hold it back.
It's just ridiculous.
What?
No, nothing.
He hates Saquon.
That's ridiculous. That's not
he hates Saquon?
True. That's just not even close to true.
One thing though that has always struck me about Saquon is he really does have like an appreciation for the history of football, for the running back positions in particular. So I wanted his thoughts on LaShawn McCoy, who's going into the Franchise Hall of Fame this weekend. And he was awesome talking about LaShawn and like specific things about LaShawn's game and how LaShawn and Barry Sanders are the two best he's seen in terms of cutting, like stopping on the dime, cutting. And he knew down to the yards how many yards LaShawn had in that game against Detroit, the snow game. He talked about just how crazy of an achievement it is that LaShawn was the leading rusher for the Eagles at that point in his career. He was what, 26 at the time when he was the leading rusher, and how that number could have been higher, and how it's kind of like it's an honor for Saquon to be the starting running back on a day when LaShawn McCoy is going into the Franchise Hall of Fame.
Good stuff.
About all the people saying that I hate Penn State, by the way, in the chat, I just want to be clear. You know, I ran into.
You hate Penn State?
Well, I ran into someone from high school, like a few years after high school, and she said that she had just broken up with her boyfriend, who also went to our high school. And she told me the story, and she said, you know, I asked him, "Do you hate me?" And he said, "I don't care enough about you to hate you."
Oh wow!
And I remember thinking, like, that must be like, that's like the meanest thing you can say. Like that's an awful thing to say. I don't care enough about Penn State to hate it. All right, like I don't think about Penn State. I just don't care about it.
I mean, you're cutting a promo on Penn State right now. Obviously, you care about it enough.
I don't watch college football. Like I just don't care about it. So I don't hate Penn State.
How do you feel about
I just hate
people
that
call Penn State Penn. As a Penn professor, that must rankle you.
Not really. No, I mean, I don't.
Penn State professor Deniz Selman.
That would be annoying. Yeah. I mean, mainly because it's false, not for any other reason.
Okay.
So what else from today? I caught up with Jordan Davis for a little. As I mentioned with the Trayvon Walker thing. Nick Sirianni's press conference, not as much there today. But yeah, I think the Eagles are. I don't think the Eagles are overlooking the Jaguars, but I think this is a team that should be confident going into this game.
I was gonna say, like when you think about the potential for trap games, like
make sure you become a diehard. By the way, hit the thumbs up button, all that good stuff. As we close in on the hour mark, go ahead.
Just looking back,
you can read Fran's 4 stories.
What's up?
I said you can read Fran Duffy's 4 stories this week, and you can read Bo Wulf's Q&A that was referenced earlier. Always enjoy the Wolf's Den, and Les Bowen's column, and we'll have more coverage coming up too.
You see what he did there? Did you notice that?
I did notice. Yeah.
What did I do?
Like he placed a little more value on some of the stories.
You could read Fran's 4 stories.
Yeah.
Or you could read Bo's.
No.
Whatever that was.
No, I was no. Once again, misinterpreted. I was being self-deprecating.
Interpretation. It's
no. I was being self-deprecating to myself because I haven't carried the writing load this week like I'm supposed to. So that was not meant to be a shot at Bo at all. But I love whenever Bo writes.
I always enjoy those little things you do. Don't worry about that.
All right, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Professor.
No, it's okay. I was just saying, like the one kind of fear that I think a lot of Eagles fans probably have from past traumas is like the trap game thing, or like it's a bad team coming in and it's a dangerous game. I can't really remember. I'm looking at all the like Eagles games from the last 4-8 years, whatever. I can't really see a recent game that I would call a trap game kind of loss.
The Jets game last year.
Just last year.
I mean, with Miami coming up, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe.
They never lost to the Jets in the history of the franchise.
Well, that doesn't matter.
You look past them, absolutely.
Maybe.
Yeah, the Dolphins were awesome last year.
I'm thinking like that was like an away game, and I don't know. I'm just thinking like that like home game against a really bad team. I was going to make a comparison to Arizona last year, but that was like mid-collapse.
How about the Commanders game in 22?
It was like
I don't think they overlooked.
It was like between the Texans game and the Colts game. Like it wasn't like
you just have a very you have a very narrow definition of trap
a game that like when you look at it, it's like a really bad team that you also don't care about, like rivalry wise or whatever. Just before like the Dallas game or whatever, like that kind of thing is what I normally think of as a trap game. Not just the. Of course, there were losses to bad teams. Like that's all you seem to be pointing to right now. But yeah, I don't know.
Go ahead, Zach.
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, Zach, thank you so much. Do you have anything else you want to say?
I miss being there in person, but I actually appreciate the way this worked out because I was able to be there for Lane and now have a new
a bit of kismet
lead. Now I have a new lead to my notes, which will appear on Saturday morning. So please read those, and I'll have more coverage from the game, and I'm going to get some stuff earlier next week on allphly.com.
Become a diehard for $4 a month while you can still get it. Not going to last forever. Zach, thank you so much. And as you leave, before Deniz and I continue our conversation, what we're going to do now is we're going to hear from Thomas Booker for, by the way, the 2024 Bo Wulf Camp Crush, Thomas Booker.
And I just want to let you guys know that I'm here supporting Vice President Kamala Harris because I believe that America should be a place of equity and opportunity. I believe that we should have upward mobility for the middle and lower class. I think that people should look forward to being able to afford things for their families, their kids, and be able to have the freedom over their personal lives to do what they want to do at the times that they want to do it. I think a lot of us look at the economy, we look at opportunity, we look at the ability to make our own way. And I think when you look at it, Vice President Harris is trying to cut prices on daily goods, groceries, rent, all the rest of it so that people can live lives they want to. I think when you look at personal choice, reproductive choice, women can do what they want to with their bodies, as they should, with this ticket. And I think a plethora of other issues, social, economic, gun violence, all the rest of it. You want a safer, more free, inclusive America in general. I don't really see any other which way that you can go about it. I think a lot of people can be disillusioned by the political process, thinking that, my vote doesn't matter. What you have to understand is that when a lot of people think that their vote doesn't matter and they're not going to turn out to vote, that is when your vote matters more. I think a lot of people look at these issues as irrelevant until it becomes a part of your life. So, I think you should always look for civic engagement. If you want to create a better tomorrow, you have to do something about it.
All right, some hardcore Eagles news. Appreciate that from defensive tackle Bo Wulf, Camp Crush, Thomas Booker. You're still here, Zach.
Yes, I got 5.5 minutes left before my my stream dies. So yeah, happy to be on. Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then let's keep talking, Deniz. I feel like we've wrapped up the offense. If you want to pivot to the defense, I know we can talk about the Jags defense, how boring they are. If you want to hit us with some high notes, that's okay. But they stink.
They're bad. They're
bad and boring.
Yeah, they're bad. They're 32nd DVOA, 32nd EPA per drive, 30th points per drive, 29th series conversion rate, and even the noisy things like turnovers, they're 30th. They're 32nd in EPA per game forced from turnovers. Like the Eagles are now 30th after those 2 consecutive plays with turnovers. Talk about the regression coming fast there. And then they're 28th red zone as well. And even with those 2 talented edge rushers in Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen, they're, bottom 5 in pressure rate, sack rate, et cetera. Now, I will say, the last time the Eagles played a team with the clear and absolute worst defense in football coming into the game, they showed that their own defense could be far more inept and lost to the Arizona Cardinals last year at the link in Week 17. But, Matt Patricia won't. Well, maybe he'll be there, but he won't be coaching this time because he was at one of the home games this year. Now, they do play a lot of man, and so in terms of what the Eagles are going to do, I'm expecting to see a lot of those kind of man-beating concepts. Well, I'm almost surely going to see the mesh play and maybe some motions and things like that to get A.J. Brown isolated on somebody. Old friend Ronald Darby is part of this defense. You know how many snaps he's taken at right cornerback this year?
I do know the answer.
I find this interesting. 0. He's been the starting left cornerback the whole time, and he's never played on the other side. Now the Eagles do it this way too. They don't move sides with the corners. But I think it's interesting that this defense, in addition to being terrible, is very, very boring. Like they blitz less than anyone else. They stunt among the least of any of the teams. They don't change, like the safeties always play on the same side. The corners always play on the same side. The defensive ends always play on the same side. So not only are they bad, they're also predictable. You kind of know what they're going to do. There's not a lot of variety to their zone coverages. So, and when they do blitz, it looks terrible. Like they got hit with a slant, 18-yard slant last week where the nickel blitzed from depth and the safety was trying to cap him from even deeper. And neither one had any chance to get to, the nickel had no chance of getting to the quarterback, and the safety had no chance of getting to the guy he was supposed to cover. And it reminded me of some of those Matt Patricia blitzes last year where, Nick Morrow is, blitzing from depth and whatnot. So
no wonder the hipster football people loved Ryan Nielsen so much. The guy's just quiet quitting.
So weird. I mean, I just don't understand it. Fran was talking about this yesterday, how he's from the Deniz Selman school. Deniz Selman runs some of the most interesting defenses that are, really fun to watch with, you don't know who's going to rush. You don't know, what coverage they're going to end up in. This is, the opposite of that. I don't know. Yeah, quiet quitting might be what he's doing. Now, this is the worst defense in football, but it's not the only bad defense the Eagles are going to play in the rest of this year. They also have a game against the second worst defense in football in Carolina, the 4th worst in Dallas twice, the 5th worst in the Rams, and the 9th worst in Washington twice. So that is, 3, 5, 7 of the remaining 10 games are against bottom 10 defenses. That is by far the easiest schedule remaining in the league for an offense in terms of defenses faced this year. So incredible opportunity for the offense to kind of take what's been going well recently and run with it.
All right. We lost it. We lost Zach.
to the Zoom call limit.
Why didn't you just say goodbye then? When he had a chance. That's okay. All right, how about the other side of the ball?
Yeah, other side of the ball. The Eagles' defense was so good last week on early downs. The third down was an issue. Cincinnati converted 10 third downs. But, I always tease Zach about how third downs don't matter as much as people think. And just looking at these last few games, the Eagles have been so good on early downs and so good against the run. The Bengals had 2 successful runs the entire game, including one in garbage time. They had the touchdown run and then one in garbage time, were their only 2 successful runs on 17 runs. The Giants only had 5 successful runs the week before. Cleveland only had 8. The Saints only had 6. I mean, the Eagles are just getting really good at consistently stopping the run, which is a little bit different than how the season seemed to start. And they're doing it with the 4-man fronts now. I mean, the Eagles actually play a 5-man front among the fewest of any team in the league after that Saints game where they were in it the whole game just because of the Saints personnel. And as Fran was mentioning on the show earlier this week, I mean, they're willing to match 12 personnel with nickel now and willing to match with 4-man fronts and still be able to stop the run. So that's been awesome. I also think that, I mean, yes, they noisily were able to convert a bunch of series by getting third downs, but they only got first downs before third down on 8 of 24 series, which is very good for the defense to be able to force third down that often. So that was a great game for my narrative of third down doesn't matter, in that the Eagles weren't nearly as good on third down, but they didn't need third down.
Right.
61% of the time they got first downs before third down. So that was awesome. In terms of the zone man approach, there was a very heavy man coverage game and a very heavy zone coverage game the 2 weeks before.
Right.
This was a beautiful mix of the two, including some plays where I didn't think it was that clear which it was. I heard Fran break down the interception by C.J. Gardner-Johnson, saying it was cover 1, and I thought that was interesting. I had it charted as cover 3. I checked PFF, and Sean Syed both called it cover 3 as well. So I'd love to.
Comes the shot of Fran
finally getting it's not even a shot as much as I think after watching Fran's breakdown, I might have agreed with him that it might have been cover 1. But it was so beautifully disguised because it involved Josh Sweat dropping and covering the running back, which isn't something the Eagles normally do, drop a defensive end to cover a running back in man. I talked about that play where Nakobe Dean is covering Jamar Chase and that kind of thing. That stuff is awesome. And the coverages have been getting so much less predictable pre-snap. And that's from my perspective. Like when I'm charting it on film, like in the Gannon Desai years, I was pretty much able to tell like which safety was going to rotate down, which edge was going to drop, and things like that from pre-snap. And if I can tell, obviously the quarterback can tell. And so I love how much less predictable the defense has gotten.
Fran says he freaking knew
oh,
it.
Yeah.
He knew what was coming.
Well, I actually meant I feel bad because I meant to like text him and be like, "Are you sure that was man?" But it was one of those plays where you just couldn't tell if it was like zone match or man. But that's the whole point, is that with good defenses, it shouldn't be easy for someone like me to just like watch it and know what it is. So I love that this defense has been getting more varied. And you have to love like how good the rookies have been. I mean,
no doubt.
Both Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. Some of those Cooper DeJean plays this week were just so good. I mean, like even when he's getting beat, he's tackling the guy right away, for just 4 yards or whatever. I think he got beat in man coverage maybe once the whole game. And then of course the one where he almost intercepted it was just like a elite play. I mean, just like to
tried
be
to ask him
underneath defender in cover 4, and he doesn't have anything left to do. He could just stand there, and no one would say that he had a bad play. And just looking for work and making that play like that was awesome.
He said fine work. He was very nonplussed at the idea that it was like a great play.
Interesting. Yeah, that's great. And Zach was talking about earlier, like long term, do you want to keep him in the slot? Like given how good he is there, we don't know how good he can be on the outside. Maybe he would be awesome on the outside too. So it's hard to tell. But right now, if you told me he's going to be the Eagles nickel for the next 5 years, like I would be very happy with that. I mean, he looks awesome, and he's changed the attitude, I think, a little bit as well.
I think so too.
Yeah. And
all right.
Yeah, I don't want to dump on Avonte Maddox, but the worst games the Eagles have played, or the best games the defense has played, have been the ones where Avonte Maddox played the least.
Jeez, nobody's safe.
Sorry. Love the guy. Avonte Maddox seems like an awesome guy. But, the Saints game, there was almost no nickel.
He's already buried. You don't have to throw more dirt on there.
Sorry.
All right. Tell us about this. Speaking of already buried, how about Doug Pederson and the Jags offense?
Interesting. I mean, I feel like the offense, sometimes this happens with teams with bad records where one side of the ball,
not that bad.
Yeah, one side of the ball is just like historically awful. People think the other side is worse than it is. I think the Eagles during the collapse last year is a really good example. The defense was the main reason for the collapse, but the offense was also thought of as being terrible.
We all know you thought that offense was really good last year.
Look, I mean, by any actual objective metrics, the offense was above average
over the
during
course
the
of
collapse.
the season.
No, during the collapse, the offense was above average. It's just that they should have been better given the talent. I understand that, but it was still, if the defense had been halfway decent, that collapse would not have happened that way.
You think it's good that somebody ripped the word blitz out of their dictionary?
And the offense was even above average against the blitz.
You thought they should have made Brian Johnson head coach. He did such a good job.
I thought that the offensive coaching was awful last year, and I'm glad they made a change.
You said, why are we signing Saquon Barkley? We have the best offense in football already.
The amount of slander today. I mean, it's one thing that you didn't tell me to show up drunk at this party. You should have made it a lot more enjoyable.
We still have a little bit of Hennessy left from the Matt Hennessy.
That's good.
episode.
Next time I'm going to...
And Miller Lite.
I made the wrong choice getting water before the show instead. I'm definitely going to have some of that Hennessy after the show. The offense, yeah. Very middle of the road in terms of both how good they are and also tendencies. And they're 14th in DVOA, 15th EPA per drive, 16th series conversion rate. And then when you look at tendency type stuff, they're 17th in pass rate, neutral situation pass rate, 14th in play action, 15th in under center. I mean, they're pretty much league average on everything. The one thing they don't do a lot of is motion. They're actually below the Eagles, 31st. But in this last game, they actually were doing some motion stuff and getting things out of it. Now, a lot of that was first half with Christian Kirk, so we'll see how they replace him, because he's been the slot guy for them, and I'm actually curious how they're going to handle the slots. They'll probably have Parker Washington play there more. But in any case, a lot of familiar Doug Pederson stuff in the offense, of course.
The reason there's no motion because there's no Scango.
Well, yeah, maybe. Though, a lot of talk about John DeFilippo was on John Clark's podcast this week. And he was talking about how Nick Foles is like a legendary hates motion guy. And it was kind of interesting to hear that associated with Nick Foles specifically, as opposed to just generally that whole Pederson thing. So that was kind of interesting. Evan Ingram is probably going to be a big target for them in this game, just because they have the wide receiver injury issues. And the one thing to watch with him is the Bengals had a lot of success throwing it to the tight end last week. And when you look back at those plays, a lot of times it's like a late safety rotation by the Eagles, which they love to do. They love to rotate Reed Blankenship down. And he was just a step late in recognizing what route Gesicki was running or whatever. So Evan Ingram against Reed Blankenship, especially watching on TV, might look like Ingram's beating him sometimes. Sometimes that's by scheme. I mean, Reed's starting from an angle where he's not that likely to make that play. And it's almost like the defense is giving you that sometimes. So, I think Ingram's going to be someone who they try to scheme up a little bit.
I like this question from Travis, who says, do we think Doug will call a Philly special type play? That would be so great if Doug, they're losing by 30 points, fourth quarter. He calls a Philly special play, slams down the helmet, says, I'm out. This is it. I'm going out on top.
That would be awesome.
That would be fun.
Remember when Nick called the Philly special?
Yes.
His first season?
His first home, Eagles, first home game.
Yeah, 49ers game.
The pandering king.
Yeah, it was like the first half.
First half of the
first home game. Yeah, total disaster. Yeah.
That's okay.
I think a lot of people don't remember that. That was very weird.
I think we should see more plays called for bits.
I think that's right. It would be good for swooper. There's a lot of those kinds of swoopers.
Fran says he was actually shocked that Zach didn't do a Doug does a trick play for swooper yesterday.
Yeah, see, I have ideas for swoopers that I don't do because I think you guys are going to do them, and then you don't. But that's just part of swooper.
Well, you got to think. Remember,
did you enjoy the reverse Dutch auction? Not as much as yeah. When you guys are all in person, I have more freedom to do things like that because it's not fair to Zach if he's on stream.
Sure. Yeah. I do like the Dutch auction. I mean, that is from a just building drama standpoint. I think it's fun.
Yeah, I quietly think that you might not win, Bo, even though you got 7 items.
Yeah, it's certainly possible.
I mean, yeah, it might end up in a tie. We'll see. Because Zach has...
He's got
Zach has a couple that have a decent chance.
Yeah.
Scoring in the first quarter and more than 29 points, I think, are both pretty likely. The third down thing could happen too. I mean, depending on what kind of game it is. But a lot of yours are kind of like too specific or.
Yeah, I mean, they were most of them were relatively low. Well, I guess I spent 4, 3, 5 turkeys on them, but that's why I had to go for the big one.
A lot of cheap items in general this time. You guys saved more turkeys than usual.
All right, that'll do it for this
Fran, that was for you. A little swooper recap
of the PHLY Eagles podcast. Thank you to everybody for watching and listening all week long here on PHLY. Thank you to Jamie and Rich and Vinny for getting it done on Wednesday. Thank you to Zach Berman. Thank you to Fran Duffy. Thank you to Julia behind the scenes. Thank you to the Professor Deniz. And thank you most of all to you, the sickos, in the chat. May you all touch beans this weekend. And we will talk to you on Sunday. Full slate of shows. Kickoff show, half an hour before the game, halftime show, post-game show, all that good stuff. We'll talk to you then. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.